Welcome to the show, guys. It is about dang time. Finally, this is beautiful, beautiful news. I just love it. We are literally moving into a new era with Trump, and I'm super excited about what's coming. Trump and Putin agree on energy and infrastructure ceasefire as a step to Ukraine peace deal. Trump is literally kicking butt, guys. Like, what more could you ask for from this guy? So not only did Trump and Putin agree on the steps toward the ceasefire and the peace deal to end the war in Ukraine, but they also talked about the energy, the infrastructure ceasefire deal, and made sure that there's opportunities. Because remember, we want to get over there. We want to get into the minerals. We want to get some of our money back. And Putin was throwing it out there saying, hey, we can do something for you over here in Russia too, so if y'all can make some more money. So it is 100% a win on both sides, guys, and I'm just super excited because we're less than 2 months in, and we've got peace deals that are coming out. We've got ceasefires that are in place. We've got so much that is happening, and it's all because peace through strength. Trump is 100% allowing his strength to take over, and they know and fear him and fear the United States, unlike they did with Biden, and it is putting the world into a better place, and I love it. On top of that, guys, we got some news on the flip side of it because it is getting crazy. A federal judge, again, a federal judge, has ruled that Elon Musk and officials from the Department of Government Efficiency must reinstate nearly all functions of the United States of International Development. In other words, USAID. This federal judge is trying to say we need to reinstate all of USAID, even after all the corruption that we found, all the misplaced tax dollars, all the just fraudulent waste and abuse of our hard-earned money. A federal judge is trying to come out and say, you need to put it all back in place. And I'm telling you guys, there is going to be a revolt in America over this because people have already seen the exposure of this wasteful spending. Also, a federal judge has indefinitely blocked President Trump's ban on transgender military service members. The Pentagon has announced plans to cut up to 60,000 jobs, aiming for a workforce reduction. But I'm telling you, we're still pushing forward. DOGE is still pushing forward. Great news that DOGE has just canceled another 44 more contracts with the value of up to $5.2 billion so that money can be saved and given back to the taxpayers. And we are officially over the $200 billion mark that DOGE has saved America. This is what the federal judge activists are trying to stop. This is what the Democrats are trying to stop because we have stopped their gravy train, guys. That's why they're losing. That's why people don't approve of them, and it's about dang time. I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching, to all of our viewers. I want to say thank you to all of our subscribers. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Let us take care of you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for helping us out with growing this channel. I want to give some love to our members of the channel. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join. And remember, in about 4 days, we're going to be doing our online charity donation, where whenever you give a super chat or you are a member of the channel, we take that money, we add to it, and we give back to charity live on stream, so you can see that this channel is more than just reporting the news. We are putting good into this world. But guys, this is such beautiful, great news that we're seeing more ceasefire talks on all certain things through this peace deal, and Trump is doing what he said he'd do. He's coming in and he's making things happen. But I'm telling you what, guys, what we love is that the Democrats are being exposed. Check this out.
All right, well, we got Trump talking to Putin. Looks like ending the war pretty much for Ukraine right now. Egg prices down, oil prices down, countries evening their tariffs on the U.S., criminal illegals being flown out of the country and put in El Salvador in supermax prisons, Israel pounding Gaza into a parking lot. And what's the Democrats' response? Like, what are they doing? A day of action. And what does that include? Does that include stuff like this?
But if that doesn't happen, there will be violence. Yes. And these people had the opportunity to stop it. And they didn't.
They don't care.
They are. They're cowards, every single one of them.
You say they will be violent, huh? Okay. You bring your pool noodle, your oat milk latte, and that can I talk to a manager attitude. Anywhere but that protest. You drive 20 minutes outside of your liberal city, you try that same act, and when the Hills starts singing Country Roads, let me know how you feel, lady. Because you have a great deal of people, like myself included in that are super peaceful, we're law-abiding citizens, but we have been waiting for just such an occasion you are proposing. Okay? But really, there's no action today. They're just going to whine about more stuff. Even Gayle King had her doubts this morning.
Hakeem and I, we have a day of action on Medicaid. In every state, in every corner of the country, Democrats are talking about they're going to Medicaid centers. They're going to people who would be deprived and
Senator, people
killed.
don't have faith in the Democrats.
Well, let me say this. And we're going to do this day in, day out on issues.
No, you're not. That's your action. You're calling for things. You're efforting. You're talking. You're holding press conferences. It's because it's not action. Because Democrats can't take action. And you want to know why? Because Americans, like you and I, threw them out of power because of their action over the last 4 years. That made everything cost more. So no more action, please. But if you watch the legacy media, you would think that the Democrats have all the answers. That they're the good guys, and the sky is falling because of the things that Trump is doing. The woman in charge of the teachers union, Randi Weingarten, who doesn't have kids, by the way, would have you think that cutting the Department of Education means that children aren't going to be educated anymore. They're not educated now. And Randi Weingarten wants you to believe that is why she's mad?
It's like evisceration by 1,000 cuts. So you want to do this? Have the fight with us in Congress. Let's make sure we get the issues out there. I'm so mad. I'm spitting mad about this.
The issues are out there. The issue is that our kids are dumber. She's not spitting mad about our children not getting an education. And I know that for a fact because she has never been spitting mad before while test scores were plummeting into the toilet. No. She never said a word about that while it was happening. Her job is to stand up for teachers' unions. She says it's for the kids, but her actions always end up benefiting the teachers' unions and not the kids. Weird,
100%.
Huh? She's spitting mad because they're cutting federal funding that fuels her political machine, which is the teachers' union that she chairs. See how this whole thing works? Meanwhile, you and I have been beating the podium at our kids' school board meetings because we're worried about our children's education, not about the teachers' benefit packages and their retirements. Randi Weingarten wasn't ever there for that. But if you turn on The View, the action they want you to think is that Trump is going to throw this country out of order, all this stuff. Roll this.
If they can just come up and take somebody because they've made a decision that you are supposed to be that person, any one of us could find ourselves being deported.
Are you serious?
Okay, Whoopi. That's not what they're doing. Trump is not pointing at people and saying, "Oh, I don't like you," and throwing them out of the country with no trial. Despite I would love to have Whoopi Goldberg thrown out of the country, but you can't do that. This is the same party that screamed about misinformation for 4 years. You want to know who Trump is deporting? People like this. Honduran illegal alien who ignored ICE detainers. He was previously arrested for raping a child. And this woman, who had previously been deported and was convicted of selling fentanyl that kills people, and thousands of other people just like this. Yet you've got an activist judge literally trying to order Trump to turn planes around in international waters in the air, to bring these type of people back to America. Headlines are saying Trump is just out there willy-nilly violating court orders because he feels like, they're saying we're on the cusp of a constitutional crisis. No. So many of these orders have no statutory authority to be issued in the first place. And beyond that, take that judge who I mentioned earlier, James Boasberg, his daughter, who has now taken down her LinkedIn page, works for a nonprofit that helps illegals, whose founder has been very vocal about the order being the right decision from him. She celebrated on her social media account with her coworkers. Her coworker's father issued the ruling that could potentially benefit her firm's work. And all this was discovered on the internet by Laura Loomer, no doubt. She ran all the receipts on her Twitter page. This is a conflict of interest. But Steve Miller pointed out even further why this judge can't do what he just did.
Well, so first of all, there's a term in law, justiciable. This is not justiciable. In other words, this is not subject to judicial remedy. When the president is exercising his Article 2 powers to defend the country against an invasion or to repel a foreign terrorist that is unlawfully in the country, he's exercising his core Article 2 powers as commander-in-chief.
Is Venezuela invading the U.S.?
This is a very important point. This is a Title 50 authority. It's a commander-in-chief authority. So just to ask you a simple question, you talk about how the system works. Does a district court judge have the right to direct or enjoin troop movements overseas? Yes or no?
Well, Stephen.
Oh, yeah, well, yes.
You see this, guys? It is time and time again that we continue to see they're trying to control Trump in every single aspect. They're trying to make sure that everything that he does is going to be hit with some federal judge. But the thing about it is there's scandals, there's things that need to be exposed that they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop going after. If you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, this is what is so important, what you're seeing on the screen. FBI hands over Biden era weaponization scandal documents to Jim Jordan. This is why this is why MAGA is so important. This is why what Trump is doing is so important. Why they brought Bongino on board and why they got Kash Patel is because they're uncovering all this fraud, waste, abuse, this weaponization, this lawfare, and it's about dang time. Thank you so much, Teresa Weber, for the super chat. Let's go. Said, deport her, we'll celebrate yelling, whoop. Let's go. And Scott Matthews, I love it, said, they wore a Transberry Barrett kind you find in the Army store. High heels mandated for all you Army boys. Don't forget to put on your mascara. Guys, let's go. Y'all show Scott and Teresa some love in the chat. They are 100% coming after Trump with everything in them, guys. Look at this. This is even crazy. A federal judge has ruled that Elon Musk and officials from the Department of Government Efficiency must reinstate nearly all functions of the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. What's the point of having a president if every single federal judge can just come in and have their way? And remember, I told you there is over 800 federal judges in the United States. And if any one of them can put an order out and tell Trump what to do, what's the point of a president? This is why everything that's happening now, guys, I'm telling you, it is so important. Trump is moving hard, FAFO, but no matter what I love is that the Department of Justice is on his side, and they're fighting all these through the appeals court and through the Supreme Court. Check this out.
Six of suspected rapists and murderers from Tren de Aragua, a foreign terror organization, after Trump dropped them off at a mega prison in El Salvador just for some fresh haircuts. The president's still battling an Obama-appointed judge who's trying to protect the gang from deportation, upping the ante by calling for his impeachment. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts rushing to the defense of Judge Boasberg with a rare public rebuke of Trump's comments, saying that the impeachment of federal judges is, quote, not an appropriate response when disagreeing with their rulings. But President Trump isn't backing down. In an exclusive interview with Laura Ingraham,
I don't know who the judge is, but he's radical left. He was Obama appointed. And he actually said we shouldn't be able to take criminals, killers, murderers, horrible, the worst people, gang members, gang leaders, that we shouldn't be allowed to take them out of our country. Well, that's a presidential job. That's not for a local judge to be making that determination.
hopefully these images will be enough to scare off any potential gangbanger from crossing the border. But for those who are already here, well, President Trump now has an app for that.
People in our country illegally can self-deport the easy way, or they can get deported the hard way, and that's not pleasant. My administration is launching the CBP Home app to give people in our country illegally an easy way to leave now and self-deport voluntarily. The CBP Home app is now available free across all mobile app stores. Do it right and come back into our country. Do it wrong and you'll never be back again.
Janine, how rare is it for the Supreme Court Justice John Roberts to all of a sudden step in the middle of this kerfuffle and tell the President of the United States he can't say what he wants to say?
I think it's not only rare, I think it's inappropriate. I think the Supreme Court judge should recognize, justice, I should say, should recognize that he is a very important player in all of this, and he shouldn't get involved in politics. And that's what he's doing. He's getting involved in politics. He's setting up a negative situation. I'm sorry, I have a tickle in my throat, so I have this candy in my mouth. But he's setting up a situation where it looks like he's taking sides. And you don't want that as a Supreme Court justice. That's number one. Number two, let's talk about the fact that the first order of government is the protection of its citizens. And instead of Americans being innocent Americans being hunted and victimized by TDA, the tables have been turned, and we're now doing the hunting. And TDA, Tren de Aragua, is now the ones running scared. And this is how it should be. And for this local judge, and make no mistake, he is a local judge, a local district court judge, a trial court judge, to think that he has the right to interfere in national security, international foreign policy is a real ego trip. And this is not something that he should be involved in. It's not a justiciable issue. He's out.
Justiciable issue, a word we learned yesterday.
Yes, it's a good word.
So he's not involved, this judge. Why is he making himself involved, Dana?
Well, I think also the other thing that he does by making himself involved is he makes the Chief Justice job much harder, because he then is like, well, wait, there's a way, like, you don't have to impeach somebody yet. We have a process. Let's follow the process. But he's also, I thought it was a brushback pitch against the judges as well in the lower court to be like, okay, they're paying attention, and we need to have this done sooner than later. It is interesting to me also, you had Hakeem Jeffries say today, we in the Democratic Party all oppose illegal immigration. But every time you talk about immigration, they're on the wrong side of it, including on this one. And the other thing I would like to point out is there's a lot yesterday on X and maybe also on the shows today, I didn't see all of them, but that President Trump is utilizing this Aliens and Sedition Act from 1798, and how dare he do that. But think about what Joe Biden tried to do to defend himself in forgiving student loans. He used the HEROES Act, and that was specifically written to deal with student debt around wartime. And he tried to say that COVID was a war. So, I mean, I think that like gangs in your neighborhood that are there because they crossed illegally and they went all throughout the United States like a poison, perhaps with the help of the Maduro government to get them over here. I think that the Democrats find themselves on the wrong side.
Did the same thing with anchor babies. Remember? That was he was exploiting something that was meant for slaves.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think we should defer to our chief.
Oh, wait, yes.
Thank you.
Our chief legal analyst, Greg Gutfeld.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm glad you asked me that question. Look, John Roberts says it's not appropriate. It's not an appropriate response to when you disagree with the judge. It is really a surprise to me that Trump doesn't follow the appropriate protocol when there are rapists and murderers invading our country. Maybe a guy in a robe in D.C. can follow all the protocols, but Trump is the effing president of the United States who protects 300 million plus people. He is a leader who does not have the luxury of opening up his little books to read, oh my God, maybe he didn't do it the right way. Roberts, shut the F up. This is something that a president has to do. He has to do this. It blows my mind how wrong I was in 2016 or 2015 when Trump came down the escalator and I was like, I can't believe he said these things. Everything he said was right. They're sending bad people. What did he say? They're sending killers and rapists. Do you remember this?
Some of them were good people.
Some of them were good people. He said this, and now he's sending them back. He's sending them back. You know, political disagreement among parties is normal, but the Dems complain about things that Trump might do. They look at this. What might he do next? Oh, what could he do? He could do this somewhere else. But when you look at the Dems, you see what they've actually done. Not what they might do, but what they've done. For example, you know, they're trying to prevent rapists and murderers from being deported. They allowed perverts into female safe spaces. They allow surgical experimentation on kids. They defend those who materially support Hamas. They defend no cash bail that expanded recidivist criminality. I could go on. My point being, we don't have to make up the crap that they do.
Right.
The only way they can survive is by hypothetically imagining what Trump will do next, because he's right in the present moment. He's doing the right thing right now. So you go, well, what if? What if? Your what ifs never materialize. Go ahead, be on the wrong side. Be on the side of rapists and murderers. Again, you're like the chick who dates somebody on death row, except now you want to bring him home to your parents. We should send these miscreants to the media and the activists' homes. Let them live with them.
You see that, guys? That's common sense. Send the bad guys away. Keep the good guys here. Let's do what's right for America. Let's put them first, right? That's what makes sense. But when you look at the Democrat side right now, they don't make sense. Thank you so much, Teresa Weber, for the super chat. Said Elon didn't do it, sir. Elon reinstate not. Guys, y'all show Teresa some love in the chat. Let me tell you this, guys. There's a lot of talk going around. There's a lot of, you could say Trump is making, with this type of stuff, Trump is making such a profound impact on the world that there's people that really want him to run for a third term. There's people that are saying, you know what? They would, the Democrats would be horrified. They'd have to constitutionally add an amendment for him to run for a third term. But there's talks, guys. Listen to this.
The president has commented and hinted several times at maybe running for a third term. And the rest of the media are absolutely horrified every time he talks about maybe running.
Guys, hey, if you don't mind doing us a favor and hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support.
For a third term. And they're horrified because they know the truth. Because if Donald Trump actually did run again in 2028, he's got a very good chance at winning again. And Democrats know it.
We're going to win Nevada, and we're going to win 4 more years in the White House. And then after that, we'll negotiate, right? Because we're probably, based on the way we were treated, we're probably entitled to another 4 after that. FDR, 16 years, almost 16 years. He was 4-term. I don't know, are we going to be considered 3-term or 2-term? It will be the greatest honor of my life to serve not once, but twice, or 3 times, or 4 times now.
All right, so what always gets overlooked when the president mentions running again is that he absolutely could run again for a third term. That is a fact. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that a president is limited to just 2 terms. In fact, it says the opposite. Anyone born in this country over the age of 35 has the right to run for president. And nowhere after that, originally, does it say the Constitution is limiting someone to 2 terms. Doesn't say that. The 2-term thing came way after that. And the 2-term thing was originally just because George Washington only served 2 terms, and it was kind of like an unwritten rule for a long time, until a Democrat. Franklin Roosevelt, not surprisingly a Democrat, because the rules clearly don't apply to them, and it's always been that way. Franklin Roosevelt ran for president once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and he was elected 4 times in a row. That was when the 22nd Amendment was finally added.
It's more than a political campaign. It is a call to arms. Give me your help, not to win votes alone, but to win in this crusade to restore America to its own people.
If Roosevelt didn't die in office, he would have been president for 16 years. He might have run for a 5th term. After Roosevelt passed away, the 22nd Amendment was added to the Constitution to limit a president to 2 terms in office. And prior to Roosevelt, American presidents generally followed that unwritten rule set by Washington. But what Democrats today never mention is that at least 3 other presidents considered running for a 3rd term long before Franklin Roosevelt. President Ulysses S. Grant and Teddy Roosevelt both did run for a third term in office. Woodrow Wilson had every intention of running for a third term, but he had a stroke and he was incapacitated. Ronald Reagan thought the 22nd Amendment should be repealed because it prevented citizens from electing who they really wanted to be president.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
Barack
that's a good
Obama,
point.
the darling of the Democratic Party, stated in 2015 that he would win again if he ran for a third term.
I am in my second term. It has been an extraordinary privilege for me to serve as the President of the United States. I cannot imagine a greater honor or a more interesting job. But under our Constitution, I cannot run again. I can't run again. I actually think I'm a pretty good president. I think if I ran, I could win.
Maybe Barack did have a third term. Democrats are so afraid of Donald Trump running for a third term that Pam Bondi was asked repeatedly about Donald Trump running again during her confirmation hearing for Attorney General. And here's what she said would need to happen first.
Is President-elect Trump eligible to run for another term as president in 2028?
No, Senator, not unless they change the Constitution.
All right, so in January, Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles introduced a joint resolution to start that process while Republicans control the House and the Senate. But Donald Trump might not need that. And while President Trump has also stated that he will not run again in 2028, this notion that he could never do it is fiction. He could.
Guys, how crazy would that be? Just let me know. To see Donald Trump run, and I believe he could win. I'm just saying. He's kicking butt right now. Less than 2 months in office and kicking butt. Guys, I wanted to show you this. So there's been a lot of craziness that's happened. People have been lighting Teslas on fire, guys. They've been shooting up Tesla dealerships, putting innocent people in harm's way. So Attorney General Pam Bondi came out and made a statement on the violent attacks on all the Tesla properties towards Teslas and is now designating them as domestic terrorism. So this is big, guys. All because they hate Elon Musk. People are doing this, and this is how deep it's getting. This is how crazy some of those leftist people are operating, that they don't realize that fire and batteries don't go well together. And they can create a lot of damage, and it's very, very dangerous. Guys, let me know your thoughts, because I'm telling you, like, it's just... Sometimes I just look at it and I just think, like, what is going on in their minds? But we've got a huge interview, guys, that's happened today. Trump is literally letting us in on everything, guys. And that's what I love about this transparency presidency. Check this out.
A fairly optimistic take. Vladimir Putin agreed to a ceasefire immediately on energy and infrastructure, but not to a 30-day ceasefire. Tell us what happened.
Well, you have a situation. We have a lot of guns pointing at each other foolishly, because it would have never happened if I were president. That was not a war that was supposed to happen. And it did happen. So that's where we are. And right now, you have a lot of guns pointing at each other. And a ceasefire without going a little bit further would have been tough. Russia has the advantage, as you know. They have encircled about 2,500 soldiers. They are nicely encircled, and that's not good. And we want to get it over with. Look, we're doing this. There are no Americans involved. There could be if you end up in World War III over this, which is so ridiculous. But, you know, strange things happen. And I think we had a great call. It lasted almost 2 hours. Talked about a lot of things and toward getting it to peace. And we talked about other things also.
Was there non-negotiables mentioned by Putin? It was reported that I think the Kremlin media actually stated that he demanded an immediate cessation of aid to Ukraine in order to get to this multi-step deal.
No, he didn't. We didn't talk about aid. Actually, we didn't talk about aid at all. We talked about a lot of things, but aid was never discussed.
In the readout, it also stated that both sides want to get to an improved bilateral relationship, the United States and Russia.
That's true.
How can we trust that Vladimir Putin actually wants that, in that he's not also being influenced at the same time by his close friend, President Xi of China?
Well, look, we have our own discussions with President Xi of China, and he wants to get along also, and he's looking to get along, and we're looking to get along with him. and we will. We have a problem of trade where we have a very big imbalance with China. With Russia, we don't have that much trade, and they'd like to, and we'd like to also. They have some very valuable things for us, including very big forms of rare earth. They have a lot of earth. You know, they have a big chunk of real estate, the biggest in the world for a country by far. And on that, they have things that we could use, frankly, and that other people could use. I think that President Xi would like to get along, and I think Russia wants to get along with the United States. I also think we're a much different country than we were just a few months ago. We're a country that's now respected. We were not respected.
Yes.
We were being laughed at. We had incompetent leadership. This was a war, as an example.
Guys, if you feel like things have changed now, let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is huge. We are literally living in a different United States than we were 6 months ago, even to say that. And guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support.
Would have never happened if I were president.
Is part of your desire to forge this new relationship with Russia also impacted by Russia's closer relationship since you left office in 2021 with China? Because I think you talked about before the desire to box out China from that part of the world and have a closer relationship with Russia.
So as a student of history, which I am, and I've watched it all, the first thing you learn is you don't want Russia and China to get together. With that being said, no, it's not a big part of it, but maybe that'll happen or maybe it won't. Obama really forced them together through energy and bad energy policies. And what he did, so many different things. He forced a marriage which would never have taken place. It was not a natural. And for one reason, Russia has tremendous land, a lot of land, and China doesn't have enough land. Russia has a much smaller population than China. And it's sort of it was always a natural enemy situation. They're probably friendly now, but we're going to be friendly with both. I think we're going to be friendly with both. China needs us in terms of trade very badly, but we have to straighten out the deficit. We have now more than $1 trillion deficit with China. It's not even believable. And we're going to be doing something about that. And with Russia, they would like to have some of our economic power.
The criticism that you've heard since really 2015 is that you have more in common with Vladimir Putin than you do with globalist leaders, maybe some NATO leaders, and in this case, with Zelensky. You're both nationalists. Zelensky's more of a globalist. How do you respond to that criticism?
Well, I am a nationalist, but I'm a nationalist for the United States, not for anybody else. And it's interesting because there's nobody been tougher on Russia than me. I'm the one that pointed out Nord Stream 2, and I stopped it. Nord Stream's the biggest pipeline, I guess, in the world, taking care of all of Europe. And it was being built from before I got there. And they were on the way. It was going to be, and I stopped it. It was just stone cold dead. I stopped it in its tracks. That's not somebody that's being particularly, it was the biggest project they ever had. I had it stopped. When Biden got in, he immediately approved it, immediately. One of the first things he did in office was he approved Nord Stream 2. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2 until I was president. I said, what are you doing? You mean you're building a pipeline to Germany and various places in Europe. You're paying them billions of dollars a month, and then we're paying a lot of money to fight them. This is not going to work out well. And it stopped, and then Biden approved it, which was a really stupid thing to do, but he did it. And Putin actually said to me, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as my enemy. He said that very strongly. But with all of that, I had a very good relationship with Putin. I had a very good relationship with President Xi, a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. Lots of good relationships. And that's a positive thing. That's not a negative thing. But at the same time, I'm about our country. So that's why we're talking about tariffs. We'll be taking in trillions of dollars.
I'm going to get to the tariffs in a minute because we're going to first hit the other big news of the day, which was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court issued a rare statement about your suggestion on Truth that you posted earlier today that Judge James Boasberg should be impeached after he ordered those deportation flights to El Salvador halted, essentially turned around. The Chief Justice said it was more than two centuries. We understood that essentially impeachment was for very rare circumstances and not an appropriate response to rulings you disagree with. What's your reaction to the courts stepping in to make a statement here? They didn't make a statement when Joe Biden, decided to forgive all those student loans.
Well, he didn't mention my name in the statement. I just saw it quickly. He didn't mention my name, but many people have called for his impeachment, the impeachment of this judge. I don't know who the judge is, but he's radical left. He was Obama appointed. And he actually said we shouldn't be able to take criminals, killers, murderers, horrible, the worst people, gang members, gang leaders, that we shouldn't be allowed to take them out of our country. Well, that's a presidential job. That's not for a local judge to be making that determination. And I thought it was terrible. In fact, he said when they were well on their way, there was an order issued, as I understand it, to bring them back or to not let them go or something. And this is not something that the country would stand for. These people, they were let in here by an incompetent president who had open borders, and anybody throughout the world could come in. And we were given murderers, we were given people from mental institutions and prisons.
The judge is essentially saying, excuse me, Mr. President, that there still is a process in place. You can read between the lines. It hasn't been a full ruling yet, and I know the Justice Department is appealing this on a couple of different grounds, but this is leading people to wonder whether there are court orders that you will defy because you believe that the judge has no jurisdiction or they're political questions and not justiciable at all. And what would you say to that? Are there circumstances where you would defy a court order?
Well, I think that, number one, nobody's been through more courts than I have. I think nobody knows the courts any better than I have. I would say the chief judge does, but nobody knows them better than I have. And what they've done to me, I've had the worst judges. I've had crooked judges. I have judges that valued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million because that benefited his case, because he wanted to see me convicted of something. I have judges that had relatives making millions and millions of dollars on the election, ruling on the election.
But going forward,
I had judges that were so corrupt.
Because we all know that was outrageous.
I never did defy a court order.
And you wouldn't in the future?
No, you can't do that. However, we have bad judges. We have very bad judges. And these are judges that shouldn't be allowed. I think at a certain point, you have to start looking at what do you do when you have a rogue judge?
Yes.
The judge that we're talking about, you look at his other rulings, rulings unrelated, but having to do with me, he's a lunatic.
He wants details of when flights departed and I guess they seem to be trying to lay the predicate for your administration having defied a court order. Now, you all have said you haven't given specific times, and you filed a motion in court, your Justice Department, to prevent any more information getting out about specific times of flights. So that seems to be where this is going. Do you have faith that the Supreme Court ultimately will rule in your favor in this case? I do,
because the job of getting people out of our country that are murderers, that are absolutely the worst people, the drug lords are causing such problems in this country. Drug lords came in, the biggest of them. They left other countries to come in here. They came through an open border. They're making millions of dollars destroying people's lives, killing people. And that's a presidential thing. We're supposed to be getting them out or getting them brought to justice. We had a judge, I would call him a rogue judge. You can call him whatever you want. I know nothing about him. I heard about this very late in the process, and I said, that's a strange order. You have local judges, local federal judges, period, and DAs and prosecutors, DAs, state attorney generals that want to really take over. I think some of it's for the publicity. They love the publicity. All of a sudden, they're on the front page of every newspaper. But
guys, do y'all see this? What's happening? Like, it's so, I don't know about y'all, but it's so apparent to me that Trump is over here, DOGE is over here. They're working to save American tax dollars because Democrats don't have no other weapon. There's nothing they can fight with. Their branding is off. Their message is off. Their method is off. Trump has come out and said, hey, we're going to catch all the fraud, waste, and abuse. We're also going to do no tax on overtime, Social Security. That's a big one. No tax on tips. Oh, yeah, we're also going to cut taxes for anybody making $150,000 or less. Oh, yeah, we're also going to build an iron dome around the United States and make it safe. Oh, yeah, we're actually going to secure the border. Everything that MAGA is doing is 100% in line with putting the American people first. And you're seeing it here on this screen. $5.2 billion saved for the American people. And what do the Democrats have to do? Nothing. They have no message. The only tool that they have to fight Trump now is using these rogue judges. They're literally on the wrong side of history right now. They're literally trying to get all these gang members to not be deported. Like, where in the world does this make sense? Nothing that they are doing is making sense. People are seeing it. But what we're seeing most of all is the lawfare is continuing to happen. And this is what bothers me, guys, is that Biden may have left. We may have won the House, the Senate, and the presidency. But now we've got the courts to deal with. It is literally mind-blowing. I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching, guys. Thank you so much for your support. If you don't mind, hit that thumbs up like button. Thank you so much. Listen to this, guys, because I'm telling you, it's only going to get deeper and deeper.
Biden let our country get invaded. He allowed men and women's locker rooms, let down kids during COVID, took forever to open up the economy. There was never any urgency. Inflation, it'll go away. There was no fight in this man. He let American hostages wither all over the world. The minute Trump's elected, they're back. This Ukraine war would have gone on forever. Biden never even picked up the phone and called Putin once. Trump spent 2 hours on the phone with Vlad today, and they hashed out a semi-ceasefire. Biden let America die and fell asleep on the beach because he didn't care. You're not going to get all you want all at once, I know, but Biden never even tried. Bringing back astronauts is like what makes us proud.
Yeah.
When have you known America to just give up? The Army's credo is no man left behind. And that credo is founded on hard work and ingenuity.
Mm-hmm.
And we're applying those principles to saving our country from bankruptcy. Look what DOGE uncovered.
I call it magic money computer, any computer which can just make money out of thin air. That's magic money.
So how does that work?
It just issues payments.
And you said there's something like 11 of these computers at Treasury that are sending out trillions in payments?
They're mostly at Treasury. Some are, but there's some at HHS, some at, there's one or two at State, there's some at DOD. I think we found now 14 magic money computers.
14, okay.
They just send money out of nothing.
Democrats are begging him to use a scalpel while there's magic money machines pumping out billions of dollars. DOGE is cleaning up Social Security payrolls. 3 million people over the age of 120 were finally officially declared dead. The VA just DOGE taxpayer-funded gender-affirming prosthetics. Not only were they having orgies at the VA, on the clock, at the hospital, they went home with goodie bags. And the Democrats are furious because Musk caught them stealing.
One of the biggest scam fraud holes we've uncovered, which is really crazy, is that the government can give money to a so-called nonprofit with very few controls, and then there's no auditing subsequently of that nonprofit. They then give themselves extremely lavish, like insane salaries, expense everything to the nonprofit. Buy jets and homes and all sorts of things.
Live like kings and queens.
Yes.
On the taxpayer dime.
Correct.
On the taxpayer dime.
This is happening at scale. It's not just one or two. We're seeing this everywhere.
It's so bad that bureaucrats are locking themselves in their office like they're Bruce Willis in Die Hard. One Fed bunkered himself under his desk and called Wolf Blitzer like it was breaking news, saying, DOGE has broken into our building.
Wow.
If you think CNN can save you, CNN can't even save themselves. Ooh. Washington ripped you off and stabbed you in the back. And Schumer says you're the one with an attitude.
They are controlled by a small group of wealthy, greedy people. And you know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers, the land in order.
Sorry, guys, I cannot have this. It literally, I'll get in trouble with the music.
You're saying you're greedy, and his party just got caught fleecing you to buy strap-ons. We don't want to destroy government. No one's even saying that. We're just saying the same things Democrats, including Schumer, have been saying for decades.
There's tremendous waste in government, and I think any Democrat who ignores the lessons, the lessons of those who voted, the lessons of the last election, makes a mistake. The people did want government to cut out the waste and to shrink.
Chuck's trotting out that old Obama line, you didn't build that. That when Americans work hard and are successful, they owe a lot of that to the government. Anyone who owns a business knows the government gets in the way of business. And if the government got out of the way, just even a little bit, business would be booming. And Elon's business used to be booming, but now the media is calling on Americans to dump his stock and are looking the other way while Trantifa torches Teslas.
But you'll see a Tesla vehicle catch fire momentarily. You'll see the suspect pop up right next to the Tesla vehicle. That individual then appears to be reaching into some kind of bag or backpack, and then he'll walk back and forth from that vehicle that's already on fire to another vehicle. The loud bang that you just heard, we believe, was a gunshot that was fired into one of the Tesla vehicles, and located in one of...
To send a message. Democrat Senator Mark Kelly, whose brother just made a fool of himself, just sold his Tesla and bought 2 gas guzzlers.
All right, here I am with my new ride, Chevy, good old Chevy Tahoe. Here in Washington, D.C. Got one of these in Tucson.
Laura Ingram, this is the...
Well, this one was made by Union Labor, United Auto Workers in Arlington, Texas. Always good to buy union cars. Incredibly reliable.
Wow.
I'm looking forward to driving this for many, many years.
Democrats are admitting they don't even believe in global warming. Trump just made Democrats admit global warming's a hoax. Musk's cars were supposed to save the planet, and they're lighting them on fire and buying Chevy Tahoes. Democrats aren't interested in saving the country. They're only interested in saving themselves. Trump's saving lives, money, factories, and women, whether they like it or not. Ohio's next.
Guys, let me tell you this. No matter what we're seeing is a revolution happening. And no matter what, as we see cuts come across the board, things are changing. Trump is putting things back into perspective. There's things like this, guys, that we're going to constantly see come out. So like something like this. Obama resettled 7,000 Somalians to Minnesota. They ended up electing Elon Omar. Was it planned? You bet it was. And this is exactly what is getting exposed. This is what exactly everybody's seeing. All these people that were flown in, illegals, that were given citizenship in certain places, trying to control certain swing states so that the electoral votes could go a certain way. This is what people are seeing, and they're tired of it, guys. This is what I love, is because we're able to show you the truth of what actually happened, and now people are getting exposed. Thank you so much, Straight Shooter, for the super chat. Let's go. And Teresa Weber, who said, Judge, try these. Maybe they'll survive. And then Scott Matthews said, ask everyone's favorite Disney ride, Pirates. All righty then, guys. Y'all show Teresa, Scott, and Straight Shooter some love in the chat. And as well as KME Multiplex for the super chat. First timer. Let's go. Guys, what I love is that, again, as we continue to move forward, we are 3 days away from Trump's 2-month anniversary of his presidency. And in doing so, and like what we're seeing is that, holy smokes, wow, we've seen 2 months go by. Trump is making things happen. The left is getting exposed. They have the lowest approval ratings out of that's ever been recorded. And then who's coming up? Who's gonna be the next leaders of the MAGA party? And that's what you're about to see, guys. I'm telling you, this is the future.
As you well know, Florida front lines working with President Trump to carry out these deportations.
Then last night you had the Fort Myers City Council in your own district vote to prohibit Fort Myers from police from helping with ICE agents because they said it would harm the immigrant community. I mean, what's going on with all of this?
Well, first and foremost, President Trump is delivering on the mandate he received from the American people,
100%.
which is deporting criminal aliens, preparing to send people back to their home countries, deporting other illegal aliens, because what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did was a flagrant violation of federal law, and we cannot house more than 10 million illegals in the United States, period, point blank. Number two, you got this federal judge who wants to take it upon himself to decide that he knows more than the American people, than Congress, because the law is actually clear congressionally when it comes to illegal immigration. And he wants to say he knows more than the Supreme Court, which back in 2014 gave the president of the United States plenary power when it comes to immigration and deportation procedures. And then you have council members in the city of Fort Myers who think they know more than the president, the Congress, the governor of Florida, and the state legislature, which just passed legislation that allowed for police officers to essentially be deputized by ICE in order to assist with the deportation proceedings of illegal aliens. These officials that don't understand their role, which is to implement federal and state law, not circumvent and create sanctuary cities, they simply need to be removed from office if they're not going to follow the law. It's that simple.
And you're on the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. Is there anything your committee could do to sort of rein in control of these judges who continue to try and essentially run the country, telling the president what he can and cannot do in regards to these deportations?
Well, there are members right now who are considering anything from being able to sanction, maybe censure some judges. Some are even talking as much as going through the procedure of impeachment of federal judges, because what we have is we have a wing of the federal bench that is rogue. It's been that way for decades now in the United States, where it does not matter what the law says. It doesn't matter what the Constitution says. It doesn't even matter what a president might say. They have their own agenda, and their agenda is not been elected. They do not represent the will of the American people. When it comes to immigration, this is a crystal clear, open and shut case. People are going to be sent home, period. They cannot stay in the United States.
Yeah, and I have a feeling immigration is going to be pretty important on the campaign trail. So in addition to obviously serving in Congress now, you've also announced your intention to run to be the governor of Florida. You got a pretty big endorsement there coming right out of the gate. President Trump's already sold on the fact that you are the best option to succeed Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. But what should the people of Florida expect from you? I mean, would you take it right to the Fort Myers City Council, who are trying to defy state law and federal law in blocking immigration enforcement?
I would, absolutely. And I think people need to understand that even if you go back to COVID-19, at the beginning of COVID-19, I remember I was in the same chambers of the Fort Myers City Council when they tried to bring mask mandates. This is back when I was a candidate for Congress, and I was a member of the state legislature at the time. And I told this council, there are new members on there today, but I told that council they did not have the authority to issue mask mandates in the city of Fort Myers. That would be a violation of federal law and state law. It wasn't their purview. Only the state legislature could enact such a policy. Going forward to today, the same rules apply. The state of Florida has already passed legislation about what law enforcement is allowed to do with respect to the 287G program and working with law enforcement. So prospectively, as the next governor, and trust me, Governor DeSantis isn't going to let this go, but prospectively, these council members need to understand they have a responsibility to execute and implement state and federal law, not to run against it, not to create a sanctuary. In my view, that's a dereliction of their duty and their oath of office. And if they don't reverse course, they should be removed.
Guys, I'm telling you, there's these guys. I feel like DeSantis is going to run for president in 2028. I feel like Vance might run, but we definitely got such a dream team that's coming behind them. Trump issues the first border wall construction contract of the second term, and isn't, this amazing? We're constantly seeing that 100% promises made, promises kept. Building the wall, securing America, making sure American people are safe, and that's what matters. This is what I love. Teresa Weber, thank you so much for the super chat. Said Byron will be president someday. Hey, I could see it. He's a 100% America first, and that is what we need. Julie Renee, thank you so much for the super chat. Said the Dems let millions in and they didn't care what we said. We deport 10,000 and they want violence in the streets, starting with Teslas. I know. This is what blows my mind. Y'all show Julie and Teresa some love in the chat. This is what blows my mind, is that whenever we continue to move forward for America First agendas, we then start seeing that the left is losing it. So much about what you're about to see next. There's actually that, like, these huge protests that are happening in front of the White House, guys. And it's just like, what is going on? Check this out.
Another historic day at the White House, although a little bit in lockdown, because today for the executive orders, I don't think President Trump had a press avail. Our Brian Glenn was not there, and he said no press was open. On the sound check, it's a pretty noisy there at the White House. What's going on, Natalie?
Well, I think it's important to underscore that President Trump was actually kind enough to essentially reopen the street that is in front of the White House. So now tourists and everyone can come up, take pictures in front of the gate of the White House, which I think when you look at the threats that President Trump is facing, it shows you just how, I think, caring he is, right? Allowing people to actually come and see the people's house, not Joe Biden's version of it, where they kept people at arm's length and very, very far away from it. But as a result, you can probably hear, because it's really loud, and it might very well be the largest Palestinian flag that I've ever seen, which gives you maybe just a bit of a teaser of the type of people who are out there. But they're screaming all about no more war, no more intifadas. It's a demonstration that's supposed to start at 7 p.m. From what I'm hearing from a lot of sources on social media, it's supposed to be a rather large demonstration, I think in part having to do with what's going on with the Columbia student Mahmoud Khalil being deported, but also, of course, they view the United States continuing to arm Israel as one of their major gripes. And I guess they're probably just upset, too, about what happened today with President Trump's phone call with Russia. I also think it's important to underscore, I think from my perspective, one of the biggest and I think most consequential impacts of that statement that came out of the conversation that they had is the idea that the United States does not just automatically have to be at odds, at war, have a confrontational position towards Russia. I think that's something, frankly, you can link it back to what happened yesterday, right? It is the reversal of America's managed decline, whether it's going to the Kennedy Center, rewriting a ship, rewriting the course that people didn't think could be changed around from the cultural aspect. That same sect of very swampy, culturally elitist people are the people who've made millions of dollars off of the idea that Russia is our foremost adversary. Not to say that they're the good guys, but they're also not people that we need to needlessly and senselessly attack, whether it's through think tanks or foreign laundered money at all these groups. So I think that was a really, really important kind of buried lead in the statement that came out today, but something that is also really, really ticking off the DC swamp crowd. But I guess that's what we voted for.
You know, on all the clips we looked at today, we couldn't get one clip on mainstream media that was not seething about this phone call. I mean, the hatred from the contributors to the guests to the host was just coming through. Was it the same for our beloved White House press corps there, ma'am?
Oh, yes. I was just actually in the briefing room. I like to eavesdrop, listen to all the conversations. I think as I was walking out, someone just said, "It's really tough today." And they were commiserating and they were very, they got the long faces. They're all dejected. No offense. There's a few of them standing next to me right now. I think they probably stand in solidarity with a lot of the protesters outside. So they probably aren't too upset about their shots being garbled by the audio there. But inside the briefing room, I think a lot of people are not too happy that President Trump dared to engage with, let's be frank, the country that they tried to use as a cudgel and as a weapon to smear him with for years, right? And it's not just that they did that themselves, but a lot of these media entities, whether it was the OCCRP, all these USAID subsidized journalist organizations, it's all one big racket. But I guess it was finally exposed today for what it was.
Perch at the White House, ma'am.
Sure. Well, I just want the audience to know that I was in the belly of the beast today. I had to deal with all the tech bros, all the transhumanists, listening to them and their thoughts about how they're going to terraform this earth and to comport with whatever crazy ideas they have. We will discuss that tomorrow because I need an ROI on having wasted hours of my life among all those people. But to the issue of lawfare, which of course is the thing itself, which I think at this point, Steve, the question is, can someone please find me a judge who's not an activist, someone who doesn't actually have any conflicts of interest, either through themselves, their family members, their children, their finances. And the latest example of this is a judge out in Maryland who just essentially struck down the ability to dismantle USAID, saying that it was unconstitutional. Well, it's so interesting because Theodore Chang, well, his wife, if you could believe it, was a former vice president. The National Immigration Forum, this far-left George Soros-funded open borders advocacy group that is on record not just opposing President Trump in his first term, but they're currently advocating and lobbying against his mass deportation agenda. It gets worse. She was also a Biden regime appointee, an anti-racist activist on a bunch of panels talking about anti-Asian hate. But I'll do you one better. The judge, who also, her name's Ana de Alba, I believe in California. Well, she's responsible, part of a 3-judge panel, a tripartite panel, which essentially struck down the Trump administration's ability to fire federal employees. We call them unelected bureaucrats here in the war room from 6 different agencies. If you can believe it, this individual is not just a self-described lefty liberal from Berkeley, but she has actually been on the board of groups that are currently giving know your rights trainings, information to illegal aliens on how to avoid deportations. But even worse, she's done these training sessions in partnership with the consulates in Mexico, Ecuador, Nicaragua, and other countries in South and Central America. She even at one point was counsel working for the Mexican consulate here in the United States, trying to advocate for illegal aliens. This is someone who is extremely far left and has foreign government ties. Like I said, I just outlined it for you. But I think what it all comes back to, and I know you're about to have Laura on, all of these judges are radical activists. We should frankly stop calling them judges, just like we don't call NGOs charities. They're not. They're essentially domestic terrorist organizations. They're not the mainstream media.
Wow.
They're the legacy media. And these judges are partisan hacks and activists with so many conflicts of interest. Just choose one, and I'll show you how you could force them to recuse themselves.
Natalie, right before we let you go, it's an hour and a half before the 7 o'clock demonstration, and it's so...
Guys, let me tell you this. Like, if it literally blows my mind how there's so much that we know now that just think about it. If we did not have Trump as president, we would have no idea. You would have no idea where your tax dollars were going, how they were being spent. Because remember, no tax on Social Security wasn't anything that the Democrats were even thinking about doing. No tax on anybody making under $150,000 was nowhere in sight for the Democrats. But this is something that Trump is doing with DOGE. The Democrats would never even introduce DOGE. We've seen the clips of Obama, who put Biden in charge of trying to clean up waste, fraud, and abuse when he was literally the definition of it. This is why what you're seeing on the screen is super important. That the world looks completely different because of that one guy right there. Want to say thank you so much, Scott Matthews. Hey, man, are you having a party where you're at, brother? Because you're talking about Tijuana taxi-free ride and all this crazy stuff. Y'all show Scott some love in the chat. And Maria Yunker for upgrading her membership. Let's go. Y'all show them some love, guys. It is amazing that we're finally seeing what everybody's always thought about. Everybody's always suspected Washington, D.C. is corrupt. All of our money is being not spent properly. There's people that are getting kickbacks in DC and lobbyists and all this stuff. And now that it's actually being exposed, these Democrats are freaking out and they don't know what to do. And they're saying crazy things, like even today, inciting violence. Like that person especially, they need to be held accountable. Like this is the type of stuff where it's like, look, we set the example. They learned you can't just say these things, especially when it comes to a person in leadership, that this is something that needs to change. I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching. Thank you to all of our subscribers. Guys, you are so amazing. We love you, appreciate you. If you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, we really appreciate your support. Want to give some love to all of our members of the channel, guys. Y'all are the best. TLN family is the best. Want to give some love to those who given a super chat donation and membership. Lou Marshall, Teresa Weber, Scott Matthews, Straight Shooter, KME Multiplex, Julie Renee, Maria Yunker. Guys, y'all show them some love in the chat. Every day, we get to bring you wonderful, amazing news because of the person who's in charge that we voted for, that the country gave a mandate to, and it's about dang time that we start seeing some people being fired, some people being put in jail, and some people being held accountable for basically screwing over Americans for the past 50 years. Love you all. Appreciate you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.